Hello everyone, this is the Gridiron Review, and this is our NFC South breakdown, starting with the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons look pretty decent with a 7-10 record last year. They're not losing anybody too important, although Rashaan Evans was a surprise for them, so he probably will resign. They have a decent amount of cap. A couple of free agent targets, Mecole Hardman, Irv Smith Jr., they both are offensive weapons that could help them out. With Kyle Pitts missing some time, it might be good to have a backup tight end that can offer a somewhat similar skill set. They have pick 8 in the NFL draft. They could be a trade back candidate to amass more picks, but some fits for where they stand now. Quentin Johnston and Christian Gonzalez both fit big needs for them. They could also go pass rush, although they drafted a lot of them last year. These are the offseason. You got to figure out the wide receiver room beyond Drake London. It's horrible, and for us, Quentin Johnston or Zay Flowers would be great at pick 8 to add to the room. We know they drafted a wide receiver in the top 10 last year, but who says you can't do it again? Beyond Drake London, it's just not pretty. And if you're insistent on Desmond Ridder, you need to build around him. Or if you're looking next year's draft, you still need to find weapons for whatever quarterback you decide to go with. Also, despite addressing it with guys like Arnold Ebiketie last year in the draft, the pass rush is still lacking. They did re-sign Lorenzo Carter, I believe, and he's a nice piece, but they're missing like the dominant guy to pair with Grady Jarrett, whether that's a defensive end or a pass rushing linebacker, but they need to figure it out. They can offer more money than other teams, so they might be able to entice someone like Marcus Davenport to go there instead of a competitor. So, yeah, and then they need to find a legitimate cornerback too across from AJ Terrell. Otherwise, the team is looking good. We hope or we think they're not really looking quarterback in the first round, so they're going to just continue to build the best team possible. The Carolina Panthers have already made a massive move in this offseason with trading for the first pick, giving up 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and DJ Moore. We don't love the trade, but if you hit on the quarterback, it's neither here nor there. Our opinion is they're thinking Anthony Richardson due to the fact that they just traded away a number 1 receiver. If they wanted Stroud, they wouldn't have done that. Again, our opinion on that. With people that they're losing, look for them to re-sign Deontay Foreman in free agents. Someone like Jacoby Brissett, who has familiarity with Frank Reich, Austin Hooper, or David Onyemata could be an option as well. And in the draft at pick 1, unless they trade back and pull a draft day move, Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud, can't imagine it's Bryce Young. That would be a bad trade up in our opinion. Keys to the offseason, again, figure out who you're picking at 1, or if you're trading the pick, we guess. You got to figure out the wide receiver room now. Laviska Shenault and Terrace Marshall are not bad options down the depth chart, but they're not number 1s. They might be able to develop into better players than they've been, but you need to figure out tight ends. Ian Thomas has not been special. And, the defense is very good. So, just depth. And yeah, the Panthers should be trending up, provided that this trade doesn't ruin their offensive chemistry. The New Orleans Saints are another team that made a big move already, signing Derek Carr to a 4-year deal, somehow again proving that the cap doesn't exist. Besides him, they're losing Jarvis Landry, Mark Ingram, Deontay Hardy. They just re-signed Juwan Johnson, which was a great deal in our opinion. Marcus Davenport, David Onyemata. We don't think they're getting either one of those back. Free agent targets. Sterling Shepard could be a low-cost option to help with the wide receiver room. He's been injured a lot, so it's unsure what impact he'll have. Colin Farrell, another guy. They're looking for low-cost guys. They can't really afford high-end players now that they went and got David Carr. Some draft day fits. Depending on what happens with Alvin Kamara, Jahmyr Gibbs would be a perfect replacement for him at pick 29. Siaki Ika, I really don't think he's a first-round pick, but that late, he's someone that could get there as a run blocker who offers a little bit of pass rushing upside. And then Brian Branch is a guy to add to the cornerback room / safety room. He's to the offseason for them. You went and got Carr, so now you hopefully Michael Thomas can stay healthy to pair with Chris Olave. Again, at pick 29, maybe it's a tight end. Derek Carr has really had success with Darren Waller. Otherwise, you just got to figure out how to replace your defensive line pieces because there's multiple that will be missing from this team. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a team that should take a big step back, we think, depending on how Kyle Trask plays. Brady retired. They're losing Blaine Gabbert, backup extraordinaire, Rashad Perryman, Julio Jones, Scotty Miller, Kyle Rudolph, and then a lot of defensive pieces like Devontae David, Sean Murphy-Bunting, Jamel Dean, Logan Ryan, Mike Edwards, and Keanu Neal. They are already deep into the negative cap space, so it's hard to believe they get any of the big names back. A couple of targets they could be looking at in free agency, Jimmy Garoppolo, although it seems like he's probably destined for the Texans. Solomon Thomas, a cheap, flexible option that's never lived up to the draft hype but is still stuck around. or Greedy Williams at corner. They do have pick 19, and unless they're bluffing about Kyle Trask, we think it's not a quarterback, but Bryce Young, in our opinion, falls slightly towards the back end of the top 10, so they could be in a trade-up option. It's not Will Levis. We don't think they take him. We don't think Will Levis is a first-round prospect. If it's not a quarterback, Trenton Simpson makes a lot of sense to try and fill the void of Levante David and potentially Devin White, depending on if you're reading the tea leaves. Another target possibly is Baker Mayfield. There's reportedly interest there. Ideal offseason, you got to figure out if you're embracing the rebuild. Byron Leftwich was used as a scapegoat, even though Todd Bowles seems like he should be on his way out after this year. You got to figure out if Kyle Trask is your guy, or if you can sell all the parts off, including Godwin, Evans, and so on. You got to decide what the direction of this team is. We don't think they win the division this year unless Trask is better than expected. And then you've got to find some way to replace all the pieces you're losing on defense. We're unsure if it's going to work out, but expect this team possibly going from first to worst in the division.